Om Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Good morning, everyone. We are going to start the Sunday service. As usually, we have the Sunday service talk. But before that, we are going to practice a little bit of meditation, maybe for a couple of minutes. And after the meditation, today the speaker is Sai Maharajan. And once the Sunday topic comes to an end, you can ask questions. It's time for us to finish the video. So practice meditation. Chandasara, he the meditation sessions. Chandasara. Thank you so much, Venerable Panyaloka. Good morning to everybody. Now, shall we get ready to practice loving kindness meditation? Before that, we prepare ourselves. Be comfortable sitting in an upright posture, if possible, if comfortable. And we start with relaxation meditation, that is breathing meditation. So first, shall we breathe in and breathe out very gently? Just focus on breathing as they naturally occur for about a couple of minutes. Breathe in and breathe out gently to prepare our mind and body for the loving kindness meditation. Breathe in and breathe out gently and consciously. Be conscious when breathing in and breathing out gently. Now, shall we practice loving kindness meditation? For that, we spread loving kindness thoughts in this way. Sukhina wa kevino honto sabbe satta bhavanto sukhitatta. May all the living beings, including me, be physically well. May all the living beings, including me, be safe. May all the living beings, including me, let's continue. May all the living beings,
sorry to interrupt you, Bante. I think the audio is really breaking up. If you can check, it's I don't know if only me. It's not audible at all. It's the voice is really not coming out.
Agreed. Same for me.
It's not. You might need to check the mic or change the mic. No,
Hello?
it's
Hello?
okay.
Very good.
It's a little better. You can try one thing. You can try to
Okay.
speak.
Okay, thank you so much for letting me know.
Yeah.
Now, shall we spread loving kindness thoughts in this way? May all the living beings be physically well. Sure. We just spread loving kindness meditation, loving kindness thoughts the way we used to practice.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much, Venerable Dhammasara. I'm very sorry something happened while we were practicing the meditation. Something is wrong with our mics. I think we can fix this problem by next week, not right now. I'm not sure whether our congregation members, participants can hear my voice, whatever it is. First, let me welcome our Dhamma speaker, Sai Maharajan, and he's been a resourceful person, a wonderful person, a helpful person in our IBMC. So whenever there is a Dhamma talk, he's giving Dhamma talks here on this for the Sunday service. So today, Sai Maharajan, he is going to share his Dhamma knowledge with the congregation members, with our participants. So I would like to invite Sai Maharajan to start his Dhamma talk. So once the Dhamma talk comes to an end, feel free to ask your questions if you have any questions from him. And yes, and Sai Maharajan, are you there?
Yes, Bhante, I'm here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bhante, once again for having me today. And good morning to everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. And like I normally request, please feel free to turn your cameras on if you are comfortable. Hello, Judy. And that would be helpful so I can see some of your faces and we can have a little bit of a virtual connection. Thank you. Again, I want to thank Bhante Santi for having me to talk and address our Dhamma group today. And it's really nice to see all of you continue to learn and I hope also practice the teachings of the Buddha. I just finished 1 hour Dhamma class that I do for young children. There I talk about different topics, and I was encouraging them. Learning Dhamma is one aspect. It is not complete without application. So if you look at the Buddha's teaching, the way we learn, the few methods that Buddha explained, not the scientific, but in his own understanding, he talked about two types of learning. One is knowledge, and the other one is wisdom. The knowledge can be acquired by listening to Dhamma. That's a very early qualities in Buddha's path. Buddha, when people ask, who becomes a good practitioner, and the person who has desire to listen, that's how it starts. And if you think of the early time, there were no Buddhists during the Buddha's time. That's a irony about Buddhism. There weren't any Buddhists, there weren't any monks or nuns, and Buddha was all by himself. He started his mission, a single man mission. And if you know the history, who did he go to talk about Dhamma? Because nobody knew that he was a Buddha. And he chose 5 old friends because he knew they had that inclination to listen, to learn. And even when he went to talk to these 5 monks, and they're popular, Pondanyawappa, Baddiya, Mahanam, Asaji, the very first 5 disciples, they were friends, they were colleagues of the Buddha. And when he talked to them, they questioned, well, how do we know that you were telling us the truth? How do we believe that you were our friends and now you think you are Buddha? So they questioned, because that's how I wanted to tell you the difference between knowing versus wisdom, the knowledge versus wisdom. From listening, you can get knowledge. From analytical thinking, you can gain knowledge, like what we do in science. We collect data, we analyze, we interpret. That's another source of knowledge. And by contemplating, you can have some knowledge. But knowledge is useless until it translated into wisdom. Because a person can be very knowledgeable, but almost little wisdom about the practicality. So I don't know if this would be funny or not. It's like a quick story. This man who has multiple PhDs was on a voyage. And while he was traveling, he bugged a sailor, asking a lot of questions. When somebody has PhD, you can imagine all kind of great ideas. So this man stops a little elderly sailor and asks, do you know what is astrology? Like, now I have no clue. I just work in ship, so I don't know. So he went up explaining quite a bit, and the doctor, so and so doctor said, you wasted 1/4 of your life. And this didn't end, so I'll keep it short. He kept bugging that guy, asking, do you know physics? Do you know other field of science? And the sailor has no clue. And then the educated person said, like, you wasted all your life because you don't know any of these. And suddenly there was a panic in the ship, and the sailor got a chance to ask him, do you know swimmingology? And the educated guy, like, I have never heard of that term. Oh, it's a science of swimming. If you don't know swimming, you wasted your whole life because this ship is sinking. So having all those knowledge without the actual application would be not so good. And Buddha showed that, yes, we need knowledge, but we also need wisdom. And wisdom comes from experience. It's not just knowing the textbook script. It is about learning them and applying them in your real life. For a very simple example, one of my students today asked that, why do we chant? Why do we need to meditate? And it's not easy to answer, even it's a simple question. Well, there is the meaning behind it. I explained that we practice loving kindness in our actions, speech, and thought, but that doesn't come to fruition until you remind yourself. So you have to remind yourself that this is the skill I must acquire. And the way you remind is like Bhante I can't remember Bante, your name, who did the loving kindness meditation. That's a reminder. It's not a chore. Some people see that meditation is as a chore. And if you think it as a chore, then it will be a burden. You will not think of like doing it on a daily basis, because who wants to do more chore? You already have enough. You just like skip that one, doesn't count for my well-being. Well, it is reminder. That's how I see, sitting down for 5 minutes before you start your day or before you end your day, and saying that, may I be free from anger and hatred. May I be free from ill will. May I be taking care of myself. It's a strong reminder. You start in your thought, and everything starts in our thought. There was argument during the Buddha's time. Some people said that, oh, it's not thought that counts the most. It's your body and your action and your speech. And well, you can debate on and on, but when you practice meditation, you start realizing every movement of our body originates from thought. For example, if you're sitting there, you unconsciously, it's not unconsciously, like almost unknowingly, you move your hand to your head, or you move your posture, or you stand or sit. Do any of those. We don't know that it started from a thought. We thought about it and it executed so quickly, we didn't even know. So in Buddhist viewpoint, there are no accidents in our, what we do, unless it's completely unseen or unexpected event. But typically, all our body movements, it starts from a thought. Now, if it starts from a thought, that's where this reminder is needed. You go on a day, you remind yourself, let me be more mindful of my action, speech, and thought, and let me choose right words. Let me choose right action. And that's where you start with a brief meditation. And I think I'm trying to give you a context why some people, like my student, ask, why do we start with meditating? That's a reminder. And in psychology, we talk about how do you establish a habit? Well, you need at least 14 to 21 consecutive days of repeating that behavior to make it almost a new neural path, right? It becomes a habit. It doesn't take that long, but it takes a little bit of effort. It's a little bit of effort, to establish a habit. And once it is a habit, and that's another problem, it doesn't go away easily. For a good habit, that's a good thing. After 3 weeks' time, if you establish reminding yourself to start your day with positive thoughts, and that becomes your habit, that's a good thing. And a couple ideas I wanted to share today, like starting from like why we meditate and why do we need to keep listening to Dhamma. And I think I'll explain, just to conclude what I started talking about, the knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom in Buddhism, we see as your experiential understanding, and I don't want to think like knowledge again, because it's, if you start experiencing change, we call anicca or anitya in Sanskrit, the impermanence in your own body. Now, that's not only about aging. Of course, you can have knowledge. Yeah, we all age. You look at yourself, like, 10 years back, I had, Diego might think like, I have nice hair. Now look at me now, it's quite a bit. If you just know, that is not wisdom. Wisdom is experiencing the change. And that happens when you practice meditation. Because if you sit down, you start with the best comfortable chair, best position. Within a few minutes, you start feeling certain pain. If you are able to experience it while it happens, that's wisdom. And you don't try to cling, like, oh, I don't like this, I'm going to move my posture to a better angle. Well, you lost it. You lost the opportunity to have that wisdom. So you sit with that. It's not like torturing, but you watch that experience of pain and see what happens. So there are a few things that could happen in a pain experience. Either it spreads in a wider area in that body part, either it start getting intensive, or either it start getting more subtle, or it just disappears. So that's how experience of pain is explained. And if you can sit through and instead of like learning, you start observing that journey of that experience or that simple experience of pain, we call you have wisdom of impermanence, because every sensation that starts, it lasts and it changes and it disappears. You noticing them, that is what wisdom. And same thing applies to your wisdom of dissatisfaction and no selfness. I will make a topic on that because Bhante Santi assigned me to do a monthly talk. So I'm planning to create a nice topics for each month. But today what I wanted to share, because we're coming to the end of the year, is that the very important quality that Buddha taught a group of lay people. This busy lay people wanted to know, I want to progress in my life. Who doesn't? Right? There's people ask, I don't think about my next life. I want to make progress in this life. So what do you have to teach us? And this young merchant businessman asked the Buddha. And of course, Buddha always had something to teach, no matter what background you come from. And Buddha told these young folks, it's a different clan, they're from a certain clan, and they practice, they're a lot of, they're busy in business. So Buddha gave them simple tips. So there are 4 things you can do to progress in your life. The number 1 is Uttana Sampada, having this persistent effort. And he explained what that means. The persistent effort in 4 ways. The first one is Anupannanam Akusalanam Dhammanam Anupadaya. Make sure you have that persistent effort not to generate any unwholesome thoughts that is not present yet. So to keep it simple, if you have not cultivated any hatred, or if you not have any attachment to unnecessary objects, keep that away. Let it not come to be, let it not arise. So make sure you check. That's like, again, another reminder, right? You can check yourself whether I have new desires, new anger, facing to or directing to some people. It's a nice reminder. And the reason I wanted to talk this is the reminder part is because when I was monk, we have 10 principles that is called daily checking. I'm just loosely translating it. In Dhamma Sutta, we have to daily check few things. And one of them is Katam Buddha Samerapting Diwaviti Patantiti. So in Pali, that means is how am I spending my day and night? I must be mindful of how am I spending my day and night every day. That's one reminder for monks. And again, one reminder for us could be if you're in a business, if you're in a different role, you can use this reminder. Make that effort to see if you have any new unwholesome ideas that is going to corrupt your peace of mind or disturb your peace of mind. The second part of the effort is if there is any already arisen unwholesome ones, try to eradicate them. Let's say you have something already started, you don't like it, it could be a bad habit, it could be a bad way of handling problems. Make effort. You need persistent effort to suppress or remove those. And that's the second part of the effort. The third part of the effort is see if you have any new habits that could be healthy, that could be wholesome. And if you don't have any of them, make effort to establish. So that's what I tell my class, I regularly check, do you practice loving kindness in the beginning of the day? And that is, if you have not done, that's a good place to start something new. Starting your day with that brief reflection that directed toward yourself and toward others, that loving kindness practice, or 5 minutes of focusing on breathing meditation. I teach meditation in my classes sometimes when students are overwhelmed, and it has nothing to do with meditation. I teach research and what are they going to use for. But what I tell them is, I'm going to teach you this skill, and the magic, all the magic about meditation is one breath. Now you master that one breath of mindfulness, you will benefit for the rest of your life. Like from the beginning of incoming breath, in between, beginning of outgoing breath, to the end, and in between. That simple one cycle of breath, if you can be mindful of that one cycle of breath, you can tell that I know how to meditate. So that skill could be something you can acquire as a part of this like end of the year or beginning of the year resolution. So that effort should be there to have a new wholesome skill. And if you have something, let's say you meditate or you do some charity, there are many ways to practice good action, good behaviors. Make effort to continue that. Do not drop it. Do not give up, because life happens, right? We're not always available. We're not always in a good spirit. So because of those changes, let it not drop. Let it not fall apart. So that the piece, have that effort is very important to continue thinking of these 4 ways. Remove, don't let unwholesome thoughts or behavior come to be that is not already there. Suppress or eradicate the one that is not good, and start something new that is not there. Make sure you practice that's already there. So your effort should be in that way, in the Buddha's teaching. And that's one principle Buddha taught that businessman. The second principle he taught, araka. And you make that effort. It applies to more business-minded because they were businessmen. The second part is protect. Protect what you have. That was another principle Buddha taught those folks. And in terms of protecting, there are possible way you can lose. So Buddha gave this financial plan for them. So if you're making any kind of income, make sure you divide them into 4 parts. And the first part, use it to your daily expense. So 25% for the daily use or for your everyday need. And 50% invest it back. If you're in a business, you have to invest back 50%. And the remaining 25% should be reserved for emergency. So he had a business plan. Buddha had a very clear business plan, the way you make income and how to distribute, because you have to protect and continue prospering. That was the second principle Buddha taught. And the third one is chaga sampada, generosity. Another term is charity. Buddha taught, you make nice income, you continue to grow, you continue to prosper, but also give back. The charity should be there. And people, those who practice giving, in not always, but most of the time, they give for either more materialistic gain or more like a fame or popularity. Now, that doesn't fall under Buddha's teaching of generosity. It is like you're giving $1,000 so you can expect $1 million. That's a pure greed, right? You just wanted to multiply. That is not charity. And if you do that so you can run for presidency, you can run for mayor or different position, that's again, it's not a pure giving. It's again, you have that covert plan of giving. That is again, doesn't count as giving. Now, the right way or a correct way to practice giving is that wish that may I have less desire. So you enjoy giving, so it helps you to reduce that attachment to any of those materialistic or materials. You learn to give, so it helps you be easy at letting go, learning to letting go. That's the principle of charity. And the last one is samajivikata, balanced lifestyle. Now, in that we can talk a lot, but to keep it simple, Buddha talked about like a life-work balance and balance in terms of your income and outgoing. You make a lot, but you don't give anything, that it will be a big accumulation of wealth, which we can talk of so many examples within the Los Angeles. People like accumulating so much wealth, I mean, sometimes I just like, just joke about it. Like, what are you going to do? And some people told me there was like a post on social media that those people who have billions of dollars, they can spend, I think, more than 10,000 or something every day, and still they can have money for 300 years. It's like, to me, it doesn't make sense because there's so much need. There are so many other areas that people can benefit. I'm not going to talk to billionaires, but the point is the purpose of wealth becomes meaningless. It becomes just fame and popularity than actually use. So that's where the Buddha talked about balanced lifestyle. You equate, you look at where expenses are needed, and you earn as it helps to continue satisfied life, to righteous life. So those four principles. So I'll remind you one more time. So the effort, the persistent effort, which has four pieces in there, and the second one is protection. Protect what you earn and invest and also plan properly. The third one is charity, engage in those practices. The last one is balanced lifestyle. And Buddha told them these are the four principles you can try to prosper in this life. And in our next meeting, I'll tell you, he also shared four other principles to make sure that our next life is meaningful as well. So I hope that was somewhat helpful to you all. And I hope you will contemplate on that and try to apply whenever it's suitable in your life. Thank you so much.
Right. I know that. Hello. I know that.
Yes, Bante, we can hear you.
Thank you so much, Sai Maharjan, one of our Kalyan Mitras in the IBMC. Yes, thank you so much for your wonderful and amazing talk. Yes, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask from your Dhamma teacher, Sai Maharjan. He is ready to answer your questions. Do you have any questions or any comments, any thoughts? Please feel free to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you for your talk. You're always very clear in your message, and it's good to be reminded. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. John, I see your hands up there.
There we go. Hey, thank you. Yeah, just and I've asked this before, and it's just a process, I guess. But I mean, I've been meditating daily for, well over a decade, and I still have the problem of, I mean, I get what you say when you say just focus on the breath one cycle and you're doing it, but so often in my sessions, they're taken over by distractions. Because you were also talking about if your mind starts to go to shifting your posture, then you're kind of losing it. And like my mind goes to all kinds of things in the future and the past, and my posture, that's another thing. And the time and all that stuff. It's so hard to keep it on the breath. I've had moments where I'm focused on the breath over the years, but I mean, it's very seldom. And especially now that I haven't done a retreat in a long time, given the pandemic and everything, I don't know of many retreats locally. And so it's hard to get in the zone, and I don't want to get attached to the outcome of concentration, but at the same time, if you're sitting there just thinking about the future and the past the whole time, obviously it's better than not sitting, but any advice on how to bring your attention back to the breath in a focused way?
Well, there are a few, John, thank you for sharing. And that's wonderful if you've been practicing, you said, over a decade. That's a long time, and it is a continued, skill that we're trying to do. So to just keep it short, there are few technique you can try, few solutions you can try. Now, one would be like, what do you do about the distractions? Let's say you're sitting there and you're focusing on breath, and it's nice. You're aware of it, incoming, outgoing, and you suddenly think of like, oh, did I pay for the parking permit? Just you happen to think of, and what do you do about those thoughts? And if you try to push it, you are making it worse, because the more you push, the stronger they come back. We call it rebouncing effect and like immediate enhancement effect. And in psychology, that's what they use. So the suppression doesn't work. What works is accepting those thoughts as, okay, there goes like I'm having a thought now. There's a thought in there. And at that time, you don't worry about breath now. You just stay with that like a thought and notice it's a thought about fear, it's a thought about anger, a thought about desire. You identify as they are in those thought content. And typically they become weaker, and it doesn't feed more, and you can come back to your breath. Same thing with any other thoughts about past or future. Acknowledge them as they are and see if you can slowly go back. Now that's something to do with distraction or disrupting thoughts or ideas. And they're not enemies. When I practice or when I teach, I tell them they're actually good energy to continue. And sometimes it helps to check your posture. If I'm like slouching, room temperature is too hot, it's not going to help me to focus. And that might make me think like, oh, it was so good when I was in retreat. It was so good when I did last night, because you're not compare. So make sure that is not the case. And another very different solution is, let's say you're sitting and you're trying to practice 10 minutes, 15 minutes down is not working. Now, the Buddha suggested in those times, you can stand up, find like about maybe 6 to 10 yards open space, and you do walking meditation. Now, you can start walking just as simple as right foot, left foot. You don't need to gaze around. You don't need to keep your eyes closed. Just be mindful when you lift your foot. And at the beginning, if you have never done it, you can just think of like right foot moves, left foot moves, right foot moves, left foot moves. And once you get a little better, you can even slow down a little bit. And some like Judy, Simon, we've done in our temple, we start thinking of like a lifting, rising, moving forward, touching, landing. So you can break it into those small movements, and it will be so easy to stay with that movement, because there's like a little engaged than the just sitting practice. And you do that for 5 to 10 minutes and you sit down and practice, I'll guarantee, John, you will feel very different and a lot more stronger in your practice, because the walking meditation is recommended. It's recommended to do in between the sitting sessions.
And you can do that indoors in your home.
Anywhere.
And you're just focusing on the sensation of your foot rising and falling.
Right. Correct. So again, at the beginning, make it very simple. As you get more used to it, you can break it down into all the movements. And similar to the breath, right? It's just different object. Similar to breath, you focus on your foot and the sensation part. And when you reach to the end, you can, again, like I said, it's the thought that where we start a chain of action. So before you turn, you can like start noticing my mind says it's time to turn. So thought of turning, body start moving, and I'm turning, and then again move your foot forward. So 10 yard is more, but 5 to 6 yard is enough. Like if you can make 10 to 15 steps and you go a couple of rounds and you sit down for 10 minutes, you will feel very energetic. It's energizing and also stronger in that concentration. Something you can try.
Thank you. And sorry, you do that for 5 to 10 minutes before your sit.
Correct. If you have that space, yeah, 5 minutes before, 5 minutes right before you sit, and you sit down and see how it feels. And you might want to add more. Let's say you're sitting 1 hour, so in between 1 hour, you can add that 10-15 minutes of walking meditation.
And you can go back and forth in a room, right? You can turn.
Yes, yes. And the whole purpose is like your body movement and the movement of leg, and trying to train your mind to be with those sensations.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, John. Any other questions?
I guess we don't have any more questions. Are there anybody with any comments or thoughts? No, I think it seems like no questions, no comments. And thank you so much again for our congregation members for asking your questions and for your thoughts. Thank you so much, our Dhamma speaker, Sai Maharajan, for sharing your Dhamma knowledge with the congregation members, with our participants on this Sunday always. And as usually, he will give his Dhamma talk every second week of the month. And I was just wondering whether I should remind you how I should contact you to give this Dhamma talk last night. But I think Venerable Shanti, and he discussed it with you. And yes, and he will be giving his Dhamma talks on every Sunday, second Sunday. Yes, thank you so much again and again, Sai Maharajan, for your valuable time and for being with us. Thank you for participants also. And now it's time for,
Thank you so much, Bante. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
See you again next time.
Yes, see you next week. Thank you so much. And now it's time for us to go for the chanting, and we will chant the page 4 and page 10. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Sentient beings are numberless. Save them. Inexhaustible. Study them all. Supreme. Suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearlessly. The grief shed all grief, and the sick find Dukong dukung pokap unya di nyai dang dusung sangi nyai kong tai padao neng di dukong dukung pokap unya di nyai dang dusung sangi nyai kong tai padao neng di dukong dukung pokap unya di nyai dang dusung sangi nyai kong tai padao Mani Thank you so much again for our congregation members, all the participants for being with us, and we made it today in this Dhamma service, and we practiced a little bit of meditation, and you also got a wonderful chance to listen to a Dhamma talk, and with this, I would like to come to an end of this Sunday service. But before that, let me remind you something. Next week, our Dhamma speaker will be Stephen Subhodha. And please make a chance to come for the Dhamma Sunday service and listen to his Dhamma sharing. Thank you so much again, and my special thanks goes to Nam. And yesterday he was here and he was offering the fruits, flowers, and he was cleaning the shrine room of the Sendo, and he was doing a wonderful service. And he has also been a wonderful member, a person, Kalyana Mitta, in our IBMC. And my thanks goes to him. And today he did not get a chance to come here because it was raining from last night. The sun, but it's because of the rain he couldn't drive to this place. Thank you again, Nam, and thank you so much, Venerable Chandasara, for leading the meditation. Thank you so much, Ashan, for filming this Sunday service and allowing the participants and our members, congregation members, to enjoy this Sunday service. And thank you, everyone. And we practice meditation, we listen to Dhamma talk, and we share our knowledge with each other. And may this bring everyone of your family members, everyone in the universe, may this bring a lot of happiness, peace, and tranquility. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.